Well, that was an energetic start. I hope that I will be able to carry that forward. But thank you so much. So just to reintroduce, my name is Girish. I represent CMB Regional Centers. I'm based in Mumbai. I basically manage India market for CMB Regional Centers. Today, actually, I'm going to talk about CMB's latest EB5 offering, CMB Group 90 Hillwood Treeline. So I'm going to cover CMB, of course. We're going to talk about Hillwood and the latest project, Treeline. But a show of hand, please. How many of you are already aware of EB5 visa, what it covers, or at least have heard about it in the past? Okay, so there are quite a few people who do not know about EB5. So let me just give you a brief as to what EB5 visa is all about. So EB5 visa means employment-based fifth preference category visa, which allows investors, so it's basically an investor-based visa, which allows the investors, which is the main applicant, spouse, and children below 21 years of age, to invest into an EB5 qualified business, which will allow them to create employment in the US and they will get a green card out of it. It's as simple as that. Or is it? It's not as simple as that, because there is a lot of due diligence which goes into picture. There are a lot of players which are involved. So let's first talk about what EB5 and EB5 Regional Center is. So there are two kinds of investments under EB5 which can be done. One is a direct route, which essentially means, and I'm not going to deep dive into it too much, but a direct investment means that an applicant who intends to have a green card will start their own business, submit their own business plan, and they are going to ensure that the requisite employment numbers are generated through their own business. So it's a business which I'm forming on my own. Now the minimum number of employment which needs to be generated or jobs which need to be created is 10. So that's the golden number. Every investment of EB5 needs to hit that 10 number jobs, which are new American jobs created in the US through that business, which will help you have a green card. Now, what is the other category which we are going to deep dive into? And probably throughout the day we are going to hear this particular term a lot, a regional center. So what is a regional center? It's a designation which an entity has, which allows that regional center to work in a specific area and to work with different developers, to look at the projects which they have, and to ensure that whoever invests in that EB5 qualifying project is able to achieve two things. One, create employment, create 10 full-time jobs, and second, return of capital, and of course get the green card. So that's two main priorities which any regional center has. And accordingly, the project team works towards that goal. They talk to different developers. They ensure that the structure and the underwriting is performed in a proper manner. And accordingly, they onboard that particular project. Now, what happens once that project is onboarded? Once that project is onboarded, the regional center then starts marketing that particular project so that potential investors can gather knowledge regarding that project and then they can invest into a group. So that's what Group 90 is all about. So it's one of the groups, and I will talk about the project in detail. So that group allows that pool of investors to pool in their funds into a form of limited partnership. So each investor becomes a limited partner. And all that, those limited partners, those pool funds are going to be deployed into a project which is going to construct and create those 10 full-time jobs for each investor. So that's all in all what a regional center is all about. Now let's talk about CMB. So you will find over here in the logo that CMB Regional Centers was established in 1997. Now this makes CMB as the oldest active regional center in EB5 domain. And that is something which is really important. While you're doing your due diligence, you need to ask certain questions and we will go through each of them as we go on with the presentation. So Mr. Patrick F. Hogan is the founder and CEO of CMB Regional Centers. And actually he has been involved with EB5 even before CMB was formed. So we were first designated in 1997, but even a couple of years prior to that, Pat wanted to do something in EB5 space. So he had this business of video rental stores, and it was actually one of the top 100 video rental stores in the US. And he thought of using EB5 program for this particular business that he had. And then fast forward to 1997, he thought of fully deep diving into the EB5 program as such. And not just that, he is considered as pioneer in a couple of activities which all the regional centers currently deal with. So indirect or induced job creation, that is something which you will keep hearing. That is something which CMB implemented first. Secondly, the loan model. So I just now talked about how a limited partnership lends funds to the borrower. That is something which CMB came up with first. Talking about succession. So we have been a 25-year-old company, and of course we want to function for next 100 years, but everything goes straightforward. So Mrs. Nori Auman is the president of CMB Regional Centers, and she takes care of the day-to-day operations of the company. So we have 6 regional centers, which allows us to operate basically in the whole of the US, covering most of the states within the United States. And you will see over here, so Group 90, it's in the southern part of the US, we will talk about the project, but we basically have projects all across the US. Now the name CMB actually came, it's an interesting story. It actually stands for California Military Base or Closed Military Base. The reason behind that was all the initial projects which CMB took in were in that area where in the World War II era military bases were being shut down and there was a huge unemployment in those specific areas. So the initial projects which we did for infrastructure development were in that area. So you will see a lot of projects in California. Now talking about the statistics, in these 25 years we have more than 6,000 investors, 6,100 plus investors from 103 different countries, and that shows the pedigree of the regional center. That is one of the key due diligence points which investors would keep in mind while asking questions to the regional center as to what your experience has been in the past. Now these are all stages. I'm not going to go too technical because we have whole day, we are going to discuss about different stages of EB5. But if you see that number, 2,600, that's important. So the goal of any regional center or an investor is to not just get the green card, but also the return of capital. So 800,000 is the minimum investment currently, as of starting 2022, which any investor has to put in. So 2,600 investors have successfully gone through the full circle of not just investing, relocating to the US, fulfilling their conditional residency requirements, getting the final green card, and also having the funds back. Now talking about project approval, so we spoke about the number of investors that we have. Now we have 75 projects which are already approved, and very proud to say that we have a 100% project approval rate. So there is not a single project which has not been approved by USCIS. Now that's a new term. So USCIS is the adjudicating authority which essentially looks at all the immigration cases when it comes to US immigration applications. So we have 53 I-829 approvals. So again, investors from those groups have gone through the full step-by-step process and have been able to get their final green card. And 48 return of capital, meaning that the loan which has been given to the developer has come back into the partnership successfully. This is also a very important slide. This is kind of ignored by most of the investors or prospects who conduct their due diligence. And as a matter of fact, this is part of the new law which came in 2022 that each regional center has to conduct periodic audits. But as a matter of fact, CMB has been doing those audits even back in 2015. So all the partnerships dating back to early 2000s also came under that ambit of all the audits that we have done with the third-party advisor. So they used to be called as BKD Capital Advisors. They merged into another firm. Now they are known as Forbes. We have a staff of 50 plus members in the US. So we have compliance, we have project team, we have legal team. And the reason why I'm kind of giving significance to this is regional center at the end of the day is a designation. So anyone who fulfills certain requirements can get that designation, but we function as an institution. So we have a whole team, different departments to take care of different activities, and then there are local people in different locations who take care of those markets, including myself. So what is the priority? I call this as an investment-based visa, but what is the priority when it comes to any EB-5 investment? The priority number one is to get the green card. Priority number two, although it's at the same footing, is the return of capital and return on your investment, if at all is distant third. The reason why I mentioned that is because it gets interchanged with the concept of, oh, how much am I getting out of the investment? But it's very important to realize that it's not a traditional investment. You're looking to get the green card, and that's the actual return that you will be getting through EB-5 investment. This is the role model which I spoke about. I've already explained to you as to how the group is formed. Each investor becomes a limited partner. The funds go into a job creating entity or a borrower or a developer. They are going to construct whatever they intend to construct. The jobs are created, the funds come back into the partnership after the loan term is over. And once the green card is in place, so your immigration is taken care of. Once the funds come back into the partnership, they are repaid back to the investors. Now, we have covered the regional center part. Now let's talk about the borrower. The reason why I am talking about the developer even prior to delving into the project is because it's very important to know about the synergy that the regional center as a lender has with the borrower or the developer. So, Hillwood Development Company, the Group 90 project which we currently have available for investment, Hillwood is the developer. Hillwood Communities is one of the branches that Hillwood Company has. It's actually a construction arm of Pero family. I'm not sure how many of you have heard about Mr. Rospero Senior. So he actually ran for president's election back in the 90s a couple of times, and he holds the record of getting a record number of votes as an independent candidate. His son Rospero Jr. is the one who runs this company. It was founded in 1988. So to talk about statistics between CMB and Hillwood as a lender and a borrower, we have worked with them on 39 projects. Until now, out of which 28 projects we have received 556 approvals, 16 partnerships have received 589 approvals, that is the final green card, and 25 partnerships have received the return of the loan back into the partnership. And you will find these stats are second to none. So out of 3 billion in total that the EB-5 raise which CMB has done in the last 25 years, around 1.1 billion were given to Hillwood as a borrower, out of which 486 billion have already been repaid back. We have 1,800 plus investors in partnerships where Hillwood is the developer, and 600 of them have already received the return of capital. Now they have been named Developer of the Year for 5 years, I think 1 year apart in the last 7 years. And they have a lot of experience when it comes to master plan communities. So Group 90 is a master plan community in Justin, Texas, and we have done over 40 projects just in Texas area. This picture over here, the truck, it's Finance where it's also a CMB project. It's Group 63, wherein investors have started to receive 556 approvals, and they are successfully getting their traditional green cards as well. Now let's talk about the actual project. So this project has up to 79 available units. So we are going to raise $63.2 million as EB-5 capital raise, and it's construction of a master plan community which spans across 5 phases. So we are just looking at phase 1 right now, but this is going to consist of 2,500 units, single family units, which are going to be constructed across the next 7 to 8 years. Now within that, the phase 1 consists of around 700 units, construction ready lots. So we are not saying, the developer is not intending to sell houses. Rather, the EB-5 loan is going to go into the horizontal construction of the project. So they are going to construct roads, they are going to construct sewers, they are going to take care of the common area facilities, they are going to look at the landscapes, and all those things are going to ensure that the requisite number of jobs are going to be created in order for the investors to get their green card. Now let's look at how this project is strategically positioned. So if you look over here, it's in the north side of Alliance, Texas, and the interesting thing about Alliance, Texas is it's also one of the biggest master plan projects by Hillwood. It has created around 76 billion worth of capital churn. It has created 9 billion worth of private investment. Once it started, I think the data is updated as of 2018. It has 500 plus companies. So someone who is intending to stay in Hillwood Treeline is looking at potential employment options in Alliance, Texas, which is like 20 minutes away. The Dallas-Fort Worth area is southeast of it. It falls under this corridor of Dallas and Fort Worth area. And of course, it falls under the minimum investment amount because this qualifies as a TA, which is targeted employment area. It has a single census tract. We have done the due diligence on that. That's the reason we are looking at the minimum investment. Now, I've already explained as to how this project is going to create jobs. It's the utility infrastructure, horizontal infrastructure, erosion mitigation. So they are just going to make construction-ready lots. And the good part is they already have empaneled individual home builders. So once these lots are ready, they intend to sell it to the developers whom they have already identified. The reason to do that is to just have consistency across the board so that the quality of work is under check. The consistency of how the project looks is also under check. And it just amplifies the project quality. The construction of this project is underway. It started in Q4 of 2023. The sale of the lots will begin in Q1 of 2025, and the actual construction will span until 2028. Now looking at the capital stack, the total project cost is around 90 million. EB5 is going to put in 63.2 million. Developers only produce 10 million. And you will see that there is a construction loan of 16 million. But if you read the fine print over here, the actual project, the senior construction loan is approved for 52 million. However, they are just choosing to have lesser amount of loan so that EB5 investors can take advantage of the job creation. And yes, there is a 20% job offer, so everyone requires 10 jobs per investor. This is going to create more than that. Yeah, so as I mentioned, the sale of the lots is going to start in 2025. It's going to go through 2028 and 2029. The proceeds of the sale are going to be used to repay the loan back. And these are some of the collaterals. Now, we need to understand this thing, and this is a common question by all the investors, that how is my money safe? Now, as an investor, and this is probably going to be discussed in the panels as well, that EB5 is an at-risk investment. What it means is that there is a possibility of profit, there is a possibility of loss. However, even though as an investor you are unable to have that security of collateral, the partnership or the group can definitely have collaterals. So we have a cash flow pledge agreement, we have a 100% distributions pledge, which essentially means that in case there is a cash flow, which that cash flow will be stored into a separate escrow account, and 50% of that will be retained into the partnership in case the developer intends to take the distributions out of that account. Similar to that, there is a 100% distributions pledge, meaning that once the sale happens, the net sales proceeds will be stored into that escrow account, and the partnership, that is CMB Group 90, the general partner is going to have first priority rights into that particular account. And of course, there is a completion guarantee as well. So what it means is that Hillwood has to deliver on the construction. There is no way they can get out of it. So all in all, that is the project that we have. I think the last comment which I would make is when anyone is looking into any kind of EB5 investment or a project, the first question is what is the track record of the developer? What is the track record of the regional center? Has there any is there any issue with any of the projects in the past? What has been the track record as far as the developer is concerned, whether they have been able to repay the loan back to this particular regional center or not? And then at the end, what is the project all about? We need to take care of all these questions. Finally, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thanks, IREX. It's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you.